Thank you very much, Professor Rabbi. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to Israel. Also, I want to thank you for the very kind introduction. And one thing was missing in this introduction, which I'm most proud of in my curriculum vitae, is that I am a graduate of this university, Tel Aviv. That's my alma mater. So it is indeed a privilege and an honor to be here, also to share the platform here with Professor Ambassador Itamar Rabivovich, Professor Ambassador Shimon Shamir, and Professor and Governor Jacob Frankel. And he is the only one who could really convince me to join the Board of Governors. And let me start. You know, Ben Gurion used to say that in the Middle East, in order to be a realist, you must believe in miracles. Now, I'm going to give you now what I think is a very realistic analysis for where Israel is in the region and maybe even in the global arena. And I hope you will not think I'm too optimistic, because now if I take a bird's eye view now and look at the mega trends in the world, I mean, there are many things going on at the same time, could be very confusing, but I think for decision makers it's very important to kind of sift through and to make sense into the developments, try to characterize them, and then to find the right solutions and to derive the right policies. So I would say, in a very, very casual way, there are two mega trends that I can see today globally. One is of integration, the other one of disintegration. Integration I see in the realm of economy and technology. Today we're talking about what used to be called globalization, technology, which is IT, which is rampant today. Whatever happens if a bank in Scotland is bankrupted, there are ramifications in the Middle East or in Wall Street or anywhere else. And of course, technology is the key component for the humanity future. This is number one. Certainly, when we think about a world today of 7 billion, soon to become 9 or even 10 billion, then you have to think about already today, and this is what leaders talk in the G20 and OECD countries, how to make sure that not only in this generation, but next generations will have food security, water availability, affordable energy, and from that on, of course, education, healthcare, and what have you. Secondly, I talked about this economic integration. There is political disintegration. You may have said it started back in the last centuries, in the late 80s, with the disintegration of the Soviet Union, of course, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia. Today, we even, something which was unfathomable a few years ago, but in Scotland this year, in 2014, they're going to have a referendum whether Scotland will secede from Great Britain. Let alone in Belgium, South Sudan, and of course we didn't come yet to the region here in the Middle East. If today the Middle East is composed of 22 Arab countries, I could see a Middle East in less than a decade which will have 30 or even more Arab countries. Disintegrations, which is really the result of the end of the British Empire rebuilding of the era. Sykes-Picot, 1916, taking territories with people which had nothing to do with each other and just amalgamating them in a way that would benefit, of course, France and Britain. Just to take two absurd examples, what the British did, for instance. They took a minority in Iraq, the Sunnis, and put them in charge of the country, right? Putting the Kurds, Sunni, and Shiite together, and the Sunni are in charge. They took Syria with a minority of Alawites and put them in charge of a Sunni country. And this is just an example of the divide and conquer of the British. Until today, we suffer the consequences. Of course, we As Jewish, as Zionists, we will never forget how they kind of tore apart from Palestine, the western part, the eastern part, never mind. Anyway, so when I think of Israel in the future, when we have to navigate within these two trends of political disintegration and economic integrations, I see the opportunities and, of course, also the threats, the challenges. So first of all, let me talk about the opportunities. When it comes to the economic and technology, Israel is a technological power. We have more engineers per capita than any other country. We have this spirit of innovation and creativity as a matter of needs. And we also have managed more by default than by design, so I don't think any government can take credit for that, of some very short circuits of like cross pollination between academy, industry, innovators, and this is what we see. For instance, the Tel Aviv University has its own technological company, so are other universities, and in any research you will find that in Israel the research time is, I would say, half as much as anywhere else. And we see this recognized now in the world, where more and more worldwide companies come here to establish R&D centers. We have R&D centers here in Israel of all major companies, whether it's Oracle or Microsoft or Intel or Google. Facebook is also coming here this year to open an office, and this is just the beginning. This also is kind of self-perpetuating the great innovative energy here in Israel. We have more companies in NASDAQ than any other country except the United States. Startups also in absolute numbers, not just per capita, in absolute numbers we are only second to the United States, and this is something when the currency for the future is technology is very, very important. I can tell you from my position in the foreign ministry that more and more our economic or our technological prowess was translated into political power. And I know it is not reflected, not in the UN with the Arab automatic majority, and maybe not in the public PR, but in a country, in the bilateral relations. There are countries who seek our advice, who seek our relations, and on a bilateral relations, this is going to continue because we have something to come to the table with. And countries like China or Vietnam, big and small, need and want Israeli technology. And this is before even the discovery of the offshore gas, which, by the way, there is a big debate in Israel whether to keep it all for ourselves or also to export some. I truly believe we should export some, not only to maximize the net present value instead of just keeping it buried in the land, but also, I think, as a strategic export, it can really benefit and enhance Israeli dialogue with countries far and also close, whether it's in Europe or other places. So, in that sphere, Israel's position probably will maintain and even get better. Of course, if we know how to translate it in a judicious way into political capital. When it comes to the other issue of disintegration, especially in the region, so from a strategic point of view, obviously there is an asset to Israel. There is no coalition of any Arab countries in the near future, I would say at least a decade, that can coalesce against us. They will all be focused inwardly, whether it's Egypt, which its main problem is the Nile water, and now with the Ethiopia trying to build or planning to build a dam on the Blue Nile. This could really be devastating for Egypt and its economy, let alone all the political upheaval in Egypt. You take it in the Maghreb, whether it's in Libya, Algeria or other countries, we have to remember, in the Maghreb, 40% or 35% of the population are not Arabs, they are Berbers. And they're also beginning to kind of think in terms of maybe self-determinations and other things, like the Kurds are in Iraq, Syria, or Iran, Turkey area. But the downside, of course, is that with the lack of any governance, of any strong central powers, then we can see a breakdown of the security arrangements that we have had. For instance, in Syria, we've had the most quiet border since 1974 after the disengagement agreement that Henry Kissinger arranged following the Yom Kippur War. Today, already we take into calculations that this peace may be breached, or this armistice lines. We could also sense that renegade groups, whether they are Shiites like Hezbollah or whether they are Sunnis like Al-Qaeda or their links, can come and attack us. The same thing we see in the Sinai with the lack of Egyptian control in the Sinai. So certainly we will have to gear up for what I call a tactical. So maybe strategically we're better off, but tactically we may be worse off when we have to really have a more robust peripheral security, border control, and this is something that today Israeli government, Israeli military and defense establishment has to really think very, very hard about. Of course, strategically we still have Iran, but I have maybe a little bit of an unorthodox thinking that Iran will not become a nuclear power, not because of Israel's desire or interest, but because of international community interests, first and foremost the United States, and I believe that Iran will not be nuclear, let alone that Iran also, and certainly now, their leaders should be focused inwardly as they have today, I believe, or tomorrow, the 14th of June, they have elections. Friday. They have their elections there. It will be very interesting to see how the elections unfold, given, of course, the upheaval that was there 4 years ago. So Israel has now a strategic window of opportunity. First and foremost, to invest in itself. And by the way, you see that the Israeli public, whether it is, I think almost subconsciously, understand it. What was the agenda for the last election? It wasn't the Palestinians, it wasn't Iran, it was about social justice, about housing, about universal draft for the military. Things which relate to organizing and arranging our life right here in Israel. So there is this window of opportunity where we can really, and I hope the government will have the wherewithal and will have the vision to do it at this time, to regulate the relations between state and religion, state and synagogue, and also to invest here in the society, just as we want to continue and develop economically and technologically. It is also very important that we will take care of the growing gap between those who have and those who have not. This is something which is destabilizing in the future, and this is something that it is now time to deal with it. And then, of course, there is the Palestinian problem. I believe it is very much Israel's interest to bring this conflict to a finality. And I think the two-state solution now is something that is agreeable by everyone, including Likud, whether they say it or not say it in their text or in their credo. Once the Prime Minister of Likud, Bibi Netanyahu, subscribed to the two-state solution, I believe that there is no real real difference today between any of the major political parties in Israel. The only question, the only political debate is the price and the road and the how to get there in the details. Of course, this is only half of the picture. We still have to wait for the Palestinians to be more amenable, to be more trustworthy, to be more effective in their own governance. Unfortunately, I do not see the Palestinians come together with one voice. The split between Gaza and the West Bank is growing. The split between Hamas and Fatah is growing. Between the Islamists and between the secular in the Palestinian society is growing. And I'm not sure that it will be feasible in the near future. So the best thing we can hope for is some kind of a good management, effective management of the conflict. I, for one, believe that we should go for an interim stage, a long-term interim, whereby we agree and we recognize Palestine's independence and sovereignty, and in turn they commit for security and for recognition of Israel as a Jewish state. I think this is an equation that can really bring some the status quo into a better place, and then we can start on that, build a great cooperation, technological, economic, cultural, with the Palestinians. No final borders, because there is no Israeli government nor Palestinian leaders that can sign on an agreed borders, certainly not in Jerusalem, and other problems. So, as we say in the ministry, we borrowed it from Tel Aviv University, the enemy of the good is the perfect. Nobody can reach a perfect solution with the Palestinians. Let's go for a good one, where there is a win-win for us and the Palestinians. Whether the Israeli government will have this capacity to do it, whether the Palestinians on the other side will be able to do it, a lot will depend on the international community, if there will be encouragement to do this, basically vis-a-vis the Palestinians. But last thing I want to say about the Palestinians, although it's still kind of an open wound in Israeli foreign policy, and it hurts us a lot. It hurts us not so much economically or politically, but it hurts us from the image point of view, what we call the Hasbara, the delegitimization campaign, the fact that the Palestinians or others, their collaborators, are trying to depict us as an apartheid state. Of course, this is not helpful. For that, I believe also the Israeli government should not sit and do nothing. Hasbara is not something which is passive. It has to be a very active role, not apologetic, talking also about Jewish rights and Jewish justice, and not just about security. Go back to the basics. I believe this can counter the attacks from our detractors. And although it's an uphill battle, we can do it. We can use the social media. We can do it everywhere we're being attacked. One thing is certain, that we should not stay silent, because what we are facing is the same propaganda tactics that Goebbels and the Nazis used, where you repeat a lie enough times, it becomes a common knowledge. And this is what we need to do, separately from, again, trying to reach out to the Palestinians, continue and strengthen our relations with any country in the region, whether it's in the Gulf. And today we do have a common agenda with the Gulf countries, starting with Saudi Arabia all the way to Qatar and Oman against Iran, also with Jordan, and realize also what are the limits of our influence and power. We cannot influence, we cannot do anything in Syria, as tragic as it is over there. We cannot interfere in Lebanon. We have tried and we have suffered dearly. We cannot affect the direction where Egypt goes. So we should concentrate on what we can do here internally, what we can do vis-a-vis the forces in the region that do seek our friendship, and of course use our technology to continue and work internationally. And Israel has a lot to bring to the table internationally. We are an OECD country. By the way, in the United Nations also, as I talked about the agendas of the UN, of water availability, food security, all these issues, Israel is at the forefront. And we can certainly continue to integrate more in the global agenda together with other partners. Thank you very much.